The Georgia Bulldogs are currently sitting at preseason number 5 in the AP poll after going 11-3 last year under head coach Kirby Smart, who just kind of keeps the wheels chugging there at Georgia. That program has been great year in and year out for over half a decade now.
Yeah.
Bit of a disappointing year last year offensively.
I think a decade. He's been there since like 2015 or 2016.
Yeah, I just didn't know how good his first couple of seasons were off the top of my head. So
Not fantastic. So I guess so. The dominance.
The run of dominance has been the better part of over half a decade now, close to a decade.
Yes, for sure.
Regardless, I think it's safe to say the offense was a bit of a disappointment last year. Carson Beck was supposed to be a potential Heisman winner last year. He was supposed to be someone that would be the first QB taken in last year's draft. It did not go to plan. He did not play very well. The receiver corps was very poor. I believe they led the country in drops last year. Just could never get anything going in the passing game. The O-line was good, but not great. The run game was good, but not great. With all that being said, they fielded a great defense that still won 11 games, and now they pivot and turn over the helm to Gunnar Stockton, who we saw a little bit last season after Carson Beck got hurt. Brings a bit of a different element, can run a little bit, has a pretty strong arm. I will say I don't think he's the most developed passer, doesn't throw out the most touch at times, can miss some throws, but was young. He doesn't have tons of experience. With that being said, what do we expect from Gunnar Stockton this season?
My thing for Gunnar is, while nothing necessarily pops up off the tape, and he's not the most skilled passer, Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships at Georgia.
Amen.
And so I don't think it matters. I think Kirby is good enough, and that offensive system that they have is good enough that it does not matter who plays quarterback for Georgia. They're going to have success. Last year was unprecedented because their running game was awful for Georgia standards. It was basically a non-factor throughout the season. They really relied on the passing game a ton, which sucks when your receivers suck.
Sure.
And Carson Beck was hurt at times throughout the season as well. And Beck was not good either. He had terrible interceptions in many games throughout the season. Gunnar doesn't have to be good. In fact, he can be mid, and maybe they're in the national championship this year. They're my pick to win the SEC. I think Kirby's going to lead them back there. I look at their schedule. I don't see games that I'm just like, okay, this is a game they will lose for sure. I think given the defensive talent and just the talent in general, they're going to be really, really good this year again. But I think it's going to be another year of like, oh, well, they really shouldn't be that good because the quarterback isn't that good. I think it'll be like the Stetson Bennett years for Georgia this year.
Sure.
Their receiver room, Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch, elite. It's way better than it was last year. I think that's going to help Gunnar out a ton. But I'm really excited to watch Georgia this year. I think they're going to be really good. The crazy thing, though, with they have talent. There's no first-round pick on this team, and that is pretty unprecedented for Kirby Smart in Georgia. But we have to remember, like you said, disappointing year, but you led into the passing. But I think Georgia fans would say disappointing year in general.
Sure.
They won the SEC championship last year. So
yeah. That's how high the standard is.
A bad year for Georgia was they won the SEC championship, and they were the 2 seed in the college football playoff. So I expect them to go back to the SEC championship and win that game as well against who knows. I don't really know there. There's going to be so many 2-loss SEC teams for me that it could be anyone. But I'm picking them to win the SEC. I don't think Gunnar has to be good this year given the talent he has around him. And I have a lot of faith in Kirby. And then I look at the schedule. I don't see games that it's just like, okay, they're going to lose that game because they get Alabama at home. They get Texas at home. So I got Georgia winning the SEC this year.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with picking them to win the SEC. Also, shout out Brian S. Hopping in from Australia.
Yeah,
But
from Brian and Sven, Brian's in Australia. Sven, I believe, is in Germany. What time is it for y'all there? And then I just want to.
Half our chat is international, which is kind of crazy.
That is insane. Continue, Jack.
So you mentioned Georgia has no first-round picks. What are the odds you think they end up having someone taken in the first round just because they develop so well?
I mean, it's a chance, but you're gonna Zachariah Branch would have to be really, really good this year. I think he's got the best chance out of anyone. outside of, I mean, C.J. Allen and Christian Miller are both good. C.J. Allen is really going to have to just like pop, pop, pop.
Fair.
I do not think they have a guy that can get there, though. Besides Zachariah Branch, if he were to just have an amazing season.
Fair enough.
I don't see them having a guy there, but I don't think they need to. I think the talent is still there from a group standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, they're really, really deep, right? Also love the two wide receivers they brought in the portal, like polar opposites. You got the 6'6", 6'5" deep threat who can run the go really well, win at contested catch, high catch point. And then you have like the gadget guy underneath, will play in the slot, great after the catch, very twitchy, runs great routes. They just complement each other very well. And then also I want to bring up the running back duo as well. Nate Frazier, true sophomore, was good as a freshman last year. I know you mentioned the run game had its struggles at time, but they're very, very high on this kid. They love him. And then to bring in Josh McCray from Illinois, who had like 700 rushing yards there last year as kind of their primary back. Assuming the offensive line that only returns one starter is good, the run game should be back humming as it kind of has been the standard at Georgia. And I expect it to be. I expect last year to kind of be a one-off type deal.
Well, it wasn't even a one-off because they won the SEC.
In terms of production, though.
Sure,
like,
from a running production, yeah.
I can't
agree.
believe. I mean,
they were bad. They were objectively bad at running the football. I do not expect that to be the case this year. I think the fact that Gunner can run
helps.
Is
That
going to be a
ton.
really
Yeah.
interesting weapon. He's really good in the read option game. And I think he's good enough as a passer, like Stetson was, that he can find his receivers. And if they can just run the ball, which they have already, like Kirby's already made it known, if they're losing games this year, it's because they didn't run the ball well that day. Like, that is what he is making the MO. That was something that really angered him with last season, was just their inability to run the football. And, they in the games that they lost, like, they were just kind of beaten at the line of scrimmage. The school up north beat them basically at the line of scrimmage. That was a huge game where Ole Miss's defense really kind of told the story of that game.
It's a low-scoring game. Georgia didn't get out of the teens, right?
And with the bad weather, like
Yeah.
Georgia not being able to run the ball, considering how that game started where they're up 7-0 and Dart gets hurt and Austin Simmons comes in and then leads a scoring drive against the Georgia defense, like that's not something that ever happens with them. And then I think in the playoff game, like against Notre Dame, like Notre Dame owned them on the line of scrimmage as well, which is not something that Georgia is used to. And I don't think it's going to be something they're going to have to get used to. I think they're going to be a lot better at that this year.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I do also feel like Stockton is just an aside. Like, he feels like more of a Georgia quarterback to me. I think he's a gamer and he competes really well. And I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of that from Carson Beck at times last year. But I think he's kind of brings that competitive DNA that Kirby Smart really loves.
I think the upgrades at wide receiver are going to be really key. Like Sven mentioned, the drop passes were insane. I had one of their wide receivers in fantasy football, and watching his games, especially down the end of the season going into the playoffs, like our college fantasy playoffs, was very tough. He dropped a 2-point conversion that would have won me a game, and I do think I ended up winning that game on a different player, but was it the Georgia Tech 2-point conversion? I feel like
Maybe.
But
Yeah. Arian Smith is who you're referring
yes,
to.
thank you. Arian Smith was just, I mean, the drops were atrocious. So, and it's kind of odd because I feel like as dominant as Georgia has been, it has never been with elite wide receivers. I mean, George Pickens is probably the best wide receiver they've had as far as pro talent goes. They had Brock Bowers, which, I mean, he was a elite wide receiver in his own, not I mean, he's a tight end, but like he changed
Elite
the game.
pass catcher.
He changed the game in a way that an elite wide receiver does. So they did have him, but they've never, or other than George Pickens, and I wouldn't call him elite, they just haven't done it in the same way that Alabama and Texas have. So,
yeah, I agree. As we kind of go into the over-under, it's sitting at 9.5. They have 3 true road games because they have 2 neutral site games, and one of the true road games is to Mississippi State.
It's not an easy game, Joe.
It's not an easy place.
It'll be a noon kickoff, though.
It's not an easy place to play in terms of environment, but the talent discrepancy is quite high in that matchup.
Correct.
So, you go to Auburn, to Mississippi State, and to Tennessee. That's really not a bad draw compared to the other teams
Not
we've
at
seen
all.
at all. I have them hitting the over. I think they'll get to double-digit wins, maybe even 11-1. So, they're that good.
I think it's more likely this team goes 12-0 than hits the under. Would y'all agree with that? Just looking at it, I don't see 3 losses, but also you're higher on Alabama than I am. I just think that the way they get their hardest opponents at home, Alabama, Texas, and not Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, and then Ole Miss, which is kind of the revenge game from last year's upset, like we talked about earlier with the weird weather. I think that would be my opinion.
I disagree. I think that it's way more likely that they lose a game.
No. I said they go 12-0, then go under, so 9.5.
Yeah,
Not losing
I
games.
still
Still
think
agree
it's
with
that.
way
Okay.
more likely.
It's college football. Like
Yeah.
we've seen so many fantastic teams drop a head scratcher at some point in the season. So I think I'd still have to take that more like they go under than go undefeated, because they do also just play like losing to Alabama. That's not a head scratcher.
No.
Losing to Texas, not a head scratcher.
Losing
So,
to Florida may
not
not
a
be
head scratcher. Correct.
Fair.
Losing to Austin P would be a head scratcher, but I don't think that'll happen.
I don't think any of us are predicting that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm taking the over as well, obviously. Picking them to win the SEC. I think they'll lose one SEC game. Could be anyone. I'm not going to pick one there.
I was about to try and get you to, but that's fine.
I mean, I guess
If you
if I
had to- if
I
you had to say
had
one.
to pick, I personally think they would lose the Texas game.